The stuff that you do, changing your equipment, the drills, the obedience stuff, that isn't going to be the thing that moves the needle in the way that you want to. It might give you short-term relief. It might give you short-term results. But tools aren't everything. And I want to clarify too, just so that you know, when I talk about tools, so usually when I say dog training tools, we immediately think like, martingales and slip leashes, prong collars, e-collars. But tools are also food. Praise is a tool. Distance is a tool. You, my friend, are it's going to sound bad. You're the biggest tool. You're the biggest tool in your toolbox. You, my friend. Yes, today on the podcast, I started off strong. I'm calling you names. That's where we're at. No, seriously, today is a very important podcast. Why isn't my reactive dog improving? The mindset shift most dog owners miss. Let's get into it. Ready to have a calm and peaceful life with your dog without the stress of those fear-based behaviors? Hi, I'm Tracy, and I've been there, overwhelmed by all the conflicting dog training advice and unsure of what to do next. But now I help dog lovers like you simplify your life with your dog by building confidence naturally, fostering trust, and addressing those fear-based challenges. So, if you're ready, stop chopping those chicken wieners and let's get to it. Hey there, friend. What if I told you that your dog's behavior isn't bad and it isn't good? It just is. Your dog isn't trying to frustrate you. They're not trying to dominate you. They're not even trying to make your life hard. They're just being the absolute best version of themselves with the information, the instincts, and the wiring that they were born with. And when you start to understand your dog at that level, not as a problem to fix, but a different species navigating a human world, well, everything changes. You move from fixing to understanding, from controlling to leading, from conflict to, clarity. So if this idea of understanding your dog better resonates with you, I want to invite you to take my free doganality quiz. Over there at that quiz, you're going to learn all of your dog's innate, dogginess. Learn to embrace it. You're going to get lots of info back and start to really get to know who your dog is, and better yet, how you can start to live with that dog harmoniously. So head on over to beyondobedience.ca/quiz. It will help you see who your dog actually is at their core, so you can stop fighting their nature and start working with it. All right, let's dive into today's episode. Well, hello, my dog-loving friend. It is Tracy. Welcome to Beyond Obedience, the podcast. Super duper welcome if you are brand new. Yay! We are so glad that you are here. Welcome to Beyond Obedience. This is a podcast where we talk about things beyond obedience. I will tell you, as someone who really does believe in going beyond obedience, this understanding of there is so much more to your life with your dogs than just obedience, making your dog understand English as a second language. I will say, sometimes there's some peeps out there. I just came across this. There's some peeps out there that have decided, even though my Beyond Obedience has been around for a while, has decided to name their Facebook page Beyond Obedience. I know. And I was like, first of all, do some research. Second of all, it means something to me. Right? It means something to me. I'm not against obedience. This isn't against obedience. This is beyond obedience. This is something that is so near and dear to my heart. As someone who is a self-proclaimed, none of my dogs are trained. I'm the first one to fully admit my dogs are not trained. I haven't spent the time. I used to say I'm the plumber with the leaky faucet. Now I'm just going to come out and be flat out honest with you. I just don't like it. It's boring for me. Now, I will say, as someone who advocates for, the foundation of relationship being leadership and relevance and fulfillment, that if you have a dog that loves it, then yeah, you have to take the responsibility and do some obedience stuff with them. And if you have a dog whose relevance is like they're very dog-like and you live a very human experience, and we've already talked about the relevance scorecard. If you missed that, it's one of the episodes. Let me just say, if I had like a team, I mean, right now it's just Paisley and I, and we're doing the best that we can. But if I had like a big team, I would have somebody that would be able to, in the show notes, tell you what episodes I talked about relevance. Wouldn't that be jazzy? That would be so jazzy. One day when you see it, friend, you're going to be like, you're going to look at the show notes, you're going to be like, oh, it's happened for her. She found somebody to help out with that. But if you haven't heard me talk about this idea of relevance and understanding the relevance gap, and relevance being like what, the bridging that gap of what's important to the dog, like the life that the dog lives versus what kind of life you live, and all of that stuff, and how if you have a dog that is living a very dog-like existence, so they like to like run in nature and kill things and scenting and hunting and all the things that dogs love to do, but you are forced because of circumstances to live in a very like urban jungle, concrete jungle, you're going to require some obedience stuff to help the dog cope, right? To help them understand how to cope and live in Humansville. So I'm not against this. I'm not against obedience. Please hear me when I say that. I have lived a very blessed life. I live out in the country. So it's very easy for me to, listen, I'll tell you straight up, Gunther outgrew his harness probably about 2 months ago, and I haven't gone to get another harness. Why? Because we've just been walking in the woods without leashes or collars. Like we're I haven't taken him out into Humansville in a very long time. It's winter. I've had a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. If you know, you know. But yeah, I'm like, oh, I should maybe like put his harness on. It does not fit him. And I'm like, when's the last time we went for a walk with a leash on? So I realized that I'm very blessed in that way. And my dogs live a really very dog-like life, so that makes it somewhat easier. But so I digress. The point is, I'm not against it. We're not against obedience here. We're just beyond it. There's more to it. There's more to your life with your dog than just obedience. So that's that's what we're about. So all that to say, welcome, friend. Welcome to the podcast. And also, if the other person that decided to name their Facebook page Beyond Obedience is hearing this, maybe come up with another name, please. Just saying. Anyway, what are we talking about today? What are we talking about today? Oh, today on the podcast. This is actually very, 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 very important. This is one of the core concepts. One of the like heart projects that I have when it comes to all things living with dogs. And believe it or not, it actually has nothing to do with the dog. Isn't that fun? It took me a long time to get to this place, I will say. I used to when I was, a vet tech and worked with like shelter dogs and euthanizing shelter dogs and stuff like that. And I ended up in a place of like really starting to get angry with humanity and people and all the things. And you do. If you're someone who works in rescue, works in the shelter system, you start to get angry at humanity. And you start to think that the only thing that you really love is dogs. And you're doing this for the love of dogs. But the reality of it is, I don't actually do this for the love of dogs. I love dogs. Please don't get me wrong. But I actually do what I do for the love of the people that love their dogs. And it took me a while to kind of really come back to that and figure out that that's actually where my love and my passion is. So this is actually one of the heart projects inside the work that we do at Beyond Obedience, because there comes a moment when you are with your reactive dog or your fearful dog, or your over exuberant dog, and you all of a sudden realize that you are so frustrated because you're not making progress, whatever that progress is. And a lot of times, and we can unpack that too, a lot of times the progress that we think that we want isn't really what we should be seeking anyway. And there's a lot that goes around that, but we have these unmet expectations. We think we should be further along. We think that the dog should be understanding more, all of those things. There is a moment, I think, in every dog lover's life, if you've been in it for a while and you're in the trenches for a while, when all of a sudden it hits you that the very thing that might be holding your dog back is not the dog. I mean, cue Taylor Swift's song right now, right? It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me, right? Like, or have you ever heard that saying? Have you ever heard like the very common saying that is like realizing that sometimes you're standing in your own way? And that moment of realization where you're like, is it me? And then it hits you and you're like, I think it's me. It can feel very, very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. So one of the heart projects that for me inside Beyond Obedience is this understanding that when you hit that mark, and maybe you've hit it because somebody told you that. Maybe you've hit that mark because a trainer has told you that you're the problem. You ever get that? You're the problem. You're the reason. You're the reason your dog is like this. I want you to stop for a second and hear me when I say that this right here is not about blame. Okay, because you didn't create your dog's innate temperament. There's a good chance you didn't cause their fear. Remember, if you've been following me for a while, I talk about this quite a bit. There are some dogs that are born innately unconfident. That's how they came out. They came out that way. They came out a little bit more shy, a little bit more cautious. I've told this story before, and I'll tell it very quickly again. But when I had the 3 girls, I had 3 new puppies. There were 3 female puppies, and I was bringing them out of the building. And I thought, I'm going to bring we had one of those big igloos. Have you seen them? Like the big white igloos. And it wasn't winter or anything. I was just like, I'm going to put it out there as a fun little play thing for them to play around, go in and stuff like that. So I was bringing it out to the outdoor dog yard, and it got stuck in the door. So the puppies were all kind of milling around, and I'm trying to get this igloo out of the door. So I'm doing the whole thing. Like I'm trying to like He-Man it, just like, wedging it up and trying to move it. Eventually I have to pull it up, and I kind of pull it really hard, and it comes flinging out of the door, and it hits the ground, and it makes like a big thump because there was like a little piece of concrete there. So it hits, like it bangs really loud. All 3 of the puppies startle, natural startle response. They all like stop, like, oh, right. And they're like, what was that? And of the 3 puppies, I had 3 very different responses to the exact same fear stimulus. The first one was Eclipse, and Eclipse just kind of jumped back and then immediately walked up to the igloo like, what was that about? Kind of a thing. Like she had a definite like, how dare you? Like she was curious, she was sniffing it, she was all over it. Then we had Dakota. Dakota went about I would say about 10 feet away from it. And she kind of stood back for a little bit. And then she kind of like, looked around, kind of went back and forth, and then eventually came up and joined Eclipse to kind of check out what that scary thing was. And my 3rd puppy, Echo, she left. She ran. This puppy ran. She didn't even look back. She was just gone. I had to get the kids to go get her. I'm like, go get that puppy. Like she was gone. And then even then it took her a very long time to come anywhere near this thing. So 3 puppies born with they same parents, same upbringing, same exact experiences, three very different responses to the same fearful stimulus. So there is a good chance you might have an innately fearful dog. You didn't cause it, or you adopted a dog that maybe had circumstances beyond your control. The point is, you probably didn't cause their fear, and you certainly had nothing to do with their genetic wiring. Okay? But, and you're like, wah, wah. This but is where you're like, but it's still your fault. No, listen, hear me out, friend. Hear me out. But you are the most consistent variable now in your dog's life. You, my friend, you're the most consistent, right? What's that saying? No matter where you go, there you are. Like that kind of thing. So this isn't blame. I want you to hear me when I say this. I'm not blaming you. I'm saying that is influence. And sure, up until now, or up until you started working, with the dog, you might have been like, I'm causing this. But the moment you shift from, I'm the problem, right? Blaming yourself, to how interesting. You know how much I love how interesting. The moment you shift from I'm the problem to how interesting, everything is going to change for you, my friend. You start evaluating things from a much different lens. This isn't a moment for you to feel bad. Truly hear me when I say this. I want you to take this information and feel empowered. I want you to feel like, oh, if I'm part of this equation, that means I'm also capable of shifting it. And you should get excited. Get excited right now, my friend, because you're in it. You're like, oh my gosh. Okay, because dogs don't improve just because we understand them, right? Awareness, as I mentioned in a couple episodes ago, maybe, awareness isn't leadership. Just knowing isn't what makes you a good leader. And empathy does not equal direction. And good enough doesn't equal guidance. Your dog doesn't just need to be understood. You're doing the good work. Like if you've been listening to the podcast for a while and you're like, I'm starting to get this. I'm starting to slow down a little bit. I'm starting to look at things from a different angle. I'm starting to change my focus a little bit. Your dog doesn't need to just be understood. They need to know what happens next. And you also need to know what happens next. Dogs respond to who we are, not necessarily what we do. And this is where I want to remind you that the tools that you use aren't what is going to change things for you. The stuff that you do, changing your equipment, the drills, the obedience stuff, that isn't going to be the thing that moves the needle in the way that you want to. It might give you short-term relief. It might give you short-term results. But tools aren't everything. And I want to clarify too, just so that you know, when I talk about tools, usually when I say dog training tools, we immediately think like, martingales and slip leashes, prong collars, e-collars. But tools are also food. Praise is a tool. Distance is a tool. You, my friend, are this is going to sound bad. You're the biggest tool. You're the biggest tool in your toolbox, you, my friend. So I want you to make sure that you know that I'm not saying tools are bad, obviously, because you're great. You're great, right? But tools don't create trust. Food doesn't create trust. Effort doesn't create clarity. And managing does not create confidence. Okay? What dogs naturally gravitate to, what they organize around, is predictability, leadership, relevance, calmness, your ability to handle things without getting emotional or reactive. That is what dogs will gravitate to. That's what they will see naturally. That's what they will want to be around. That's what they will want to follow. They're not going to want to, I mean, yes, they will follow you for food, but there will be a difference. And I know you know it. I know you know. I have it right now because we are trying to teach Gunther some things like, come when you're called. When you hear your name, maybe come back in this general direction. We are trying to do that. And I am trying to reward him, to let him know that that was the right answer. But I will say the moment that he thinks there's food, the energy for which he comes back at is the same energy for which he leaves. Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm saying? Like when he thinks or knows that I have food and I call him, he comes back so excited. But he also leaves just as quickly. It's like, I got my reward. Now see ya. Like it is such a transactional feeling. Like I got what I wanted. And then they take off again. It's the same energy. But when they come back because they think you're doing something cool, when they come back because you're somebody fun to follow, there's not that same energy. They might not come back with the same, like, what you got, but they do come back and be like, hey, what are you doing? And then they hang out a little bit longer. They stay a little bit longer. They follow a little bit longer. It's not just a grab and run. It's like it's a different vibe. And when you see it and you feel it. Okay? That comes from being a leader, not showcasing leadership, but actually being a leader. Okay? So if we flip the script, like if you've been sitting there thinking, oh shoot, I'm the limiting factor, right? And you're like, oh, it's me. And you're like, I'm the limiting factor. I'm the weakest link. Remember that show, The Weakest Link? You are the weakest link. When you figure out that you might be the limiting factor or you are the limiting factor, I want you to flip that script and I want you to think of yourself as the unlocking factor. Ooh, I like that. You're not limiting, you're unlocking. You're going to unlock some really great stuff because you can't control genetics. You cannot control their genetics. You can't even control their past experiences. You can't control the other things and the other people and the other things that happen in their world, but you can control how you show up. Okay? And please always hear me when I say they're not waiting for you to be perfect. They're not waiting for you to be the perfect whatever. They're just waiting for clarity. They just need you to be clear and steady and in the knowledge of who you are. Leadership isn't like emotional perfection, okay? Thank God. I mean, we have to be aware of it. Don't get me wrong. But it doesn't mean that you can never feel overwhelmed, which is good because I'm overwhelmed right now. It doesn't mean that life isn't hard. It means that you can have big feelings about things, but still be the steady one. Okay? So what does this mean for you today, my friend? Right? Because you're like, okay, I get it. What do I do about it? What can you do today? So what I want you to do today, just a small thing. The next time your dog has a behavior, I don't know, reacts, gets fearful, whatever. I don't want you to necessarily rush to fix it or soothe it or correct it or even distract from it, if possible. I mean, if your dog's really going off the charts, they're popping off. Obviously you might have to manage it. But I'm just saying, if it's like a little reaction, I want you to just pause and ask yourself in this moment, what am I communicating right now? Am I tense? Am I apologetic? Am I frustrated? Am I unclear? And then can I be steady? Can I be decisive? Can I be relevant? Can I be present? Those kind of things, like what am I? And then what can I be in this moment? So instead of managing the behavior, and again, please take this with a grain of salt. If you have a dog that's like popped right off, obviously safety first, manage the behavior. But if let's say they're just a little bit antsy, they're a little bit, let's say the trigger's far away and they're kind of just popping up and down a little bit. And they're just like, getting excited or getting a little bit vocal. can you take that moment to just pause for a second? Just do a quick check. How am I feeling right now? Where am I tense? Where am I tense? Right? The one thing to check, especially if you're on leash, how tense is your hand that is closest to the dog? How tense is that hand? One of the tricks that it's not a trick, one of the things that I always ask my clients to do, especially when we're talking about leash communication and how we're doing, we have to be very, very aware of the tension in our body. And our first reaction when dogs go to react and we go to control is to clench the hand that is closest to the dog's head, right? We immediately will grasp that leash and we hold that tight, and we will hold that tight long after the dog or the trigger or whatnot has gone. So I always try to recommend to people that the hand closest to the dog is for fine communication, and the hand that's away from the dog, that's holding on to the end of the leash, if you need to grasp something, grasp that. But the one that's closest to the dog, that is your like your signal. So even if you immediately grab the leash and you go, oh, that's really tight, see what happens when you loosen that. And not just loosen that. I want you to take a breath, loosen your shoulder, feel where all that tension is, right? So if I have that moment where, the trigger's far enough away, it's over there, my dog's just a little bit popping off, rather than like pulling, distracting, asking, doing all that stuff, just stand in your space for a second, go, where am I feeling this in my body? Really dial into this. I'll tell you what's going to happen, especially if you take a moment to really figure it out and then take a couple deep breaths. The moment you stop focusing on the dog and you start focusing on yourself, the dog will eventually pick up on that you're not engaging with what they're engaging with. And they're going to take a look back at you and be like, what are you doing? Like, normally you and I are in this together because that's what you normally do. Normally your dog reacts, your body tenses up, and you start to do things. Try to distract them, get your food out, ask them to look at you, all of that stuff. But if you stop for that moment and actually like just sort of take it into yourself, be like, where am I at right now? Take a deep breath, square your shoulders, give them a little roll, release the hand that is clenched next to the dog, see where you can release that tension. And you might actually notice that your dog then checks in with you because you're a different presence in that moment. Okay? And then take a moment to decide what happens next. Not emotionally, but clearly. And if you notice something about yourself, like, I'm getting embarrassed because the dog is making noises or whatnot, just like try not to judge it. How interesting. And then make that decision from that space of clarity. And maybe that's going to look completely different. Maybe that's just going to look like, instead of trying to pull the dog away, what if, maybe not right now if you live where I live, but maybe what does that mean if I just sit down for a second? Wouldn't that mess your dog up? If your dog is used to you constantly pulling them away from triggers, if you just sat down and was like, what are we doing here? Let's see what happens. See what happens. But center yourself first, because awareness is only powerful when it leads from a place of clarity and not shame. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So that's my thing. Again, caveat. I'm going to say it again. I'm not talking about if, a dog is coming at you and your dog is popping off. Like, you can't do it then. I'm talking about find a moment when it's not that bad, the trigger's far away, everything is safe for you to do this exercise. Okay? So if you're realizing that this might be you, good. That means that there is a shift and there's power to that shift happening. This isn't about trying harder, doing more. Okay? This is about becoming clearer, being softer, quieter, centering yourself. And the moment you shift from blame to influence, that's when things really start to move. Okay? So there you go, my friend. Listen, next episode, we're dropping some knowledge. We're very excited. You're going to be excited too. You'll have to wait till that episode comes out. But in the meantime, if you want to head over to the Living Beyond Obedience group over on Facebook, let us know how are things going. Drop a picture of your dog. All this, if you're not a part of that, why not? Why aren't you in the free Facebook group? Get in the free Facebook group already, friend. Also, don't be greedy with the pictures, right? Like, put your pictures of your dog. Gosh. It's like nobody wants to see anything else but the pictures of your dog. We're just here for the pictures of the dogs. Come on. Get on over to that free Facebook group, Living Beyond Obedience. If you haven't had a chance already to take the Doganality quiz, that's a fun quiz. That will help you get to know your dog at a deeper level. That's at beyondobedience.ca/quiz. And as always, my dog loving friend, get out there today. Be the person that your dog thinks you are, because your dog thinks that you are amazing. And so do I. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Oh, and one more thing. This podcast is meant for entertainment and education purposes only, and it's not meant to replace hands-on professional training. If you're really struggling with your dog, please reach out to a professional in your area. All right, I think that's it. Bye for now.